All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Tuesday 10X. For over 15 years, I have been doing this show every Tuesday at 9 o'clock. Usually it's an interview. I'm pretty intentional around this not being a mastermind, and it's usually me interviewing a top producing mortgage advisor. But guys, it's a special time in the market. It is June of 2024. And I believe that this is a transformational year in housing. It's a massive opportunity for the mortgage industry, for agents that are going to do the right things and have the right lending partners. I think they're going to kill it. But agents that do the wrong things, that don't have the right lending partner, I think are going to lose market share. And so it's a very pivotal time in the market. We've got three amazing, badass mortgage advisors. We've got Mr. Dan Keller. No one's been on this show more than Dan. No one has more views than Dan. What's up, DK?
What's up, guys? This is going to be fun.
Yeah, dude, I can't wait for this conversation. Dan is on track for $100 million in production this year. He did 13 million last year. His goal over the next couple of years is get to his branch to be 350 million. Dan, anything you want to say to everyone to kind of kick things off from a Dan Keller perspective?
Yeah, I think that was a typo. I did not do 13 million last year.
Yeah. Oh, 13 million last month.
No, 13 loans. 13 loans. Working to get to 100 million, back to 100 million. I'm a branch manager. I run two offices up here in Seattle, and I also help run and coach our region up here. So I got a full plate, but nonetheless, the Mortgage Coach community has done so much for my business. And like I say, every time I'm on these calls, if I can give something back to you guys, a community that's helped me so much, I'm going to be the first in line to do that. And today's call is just going to be ridiculous. The other two guys here, ballers, to say the least. So this is going to be fun.
So I'm going to do Sean next because Sean is going to be the anchor man as we do this mastermind. He's going to go last with sharing strategies and scripts. But Sean, I'll try to get the numbers right. I think you said you're on track and the goal is 120 million this year. And you've done 10 million over the past couple months. Is that right? In production?
Yeah, 10 last 10 the month before. I had a slow January, February, so I'm kicking it into gear.
Right on. Anything you want to say to kick off today's mastermind?
No, I'm stoked for this one. This is gonna be fun. I got the honor to be on this with these two guys, and you as always, Dave. So and I love the approach. I love that the purpose of this call is going to make people completely rethink how they speak with clients. And if you haven't thought of it this way, it's about time. So I'm stoked to do this today.
Well, you've locked yourself in as one of the most watched interviews of the year in the NAR playlist. You're currently winning. That video has been watched over 5,000 times, and you know, to say you're bringing value to the industry is an understatement. Like you really, how you are bringing value to agents during this NAR settlement changes is you're leading by example. All three of you guys are, but right now your interview is winning the race. So Brian McCauley, dude, I am super pumped to have you. While I've interviewed you probably the least of these three, every interview I've done with you, I'm just like, oh my God, this guy is amazing. I would have interviewed this guy more, but he has said no to me more times than others. He's he's got a clear vision. He's on pace for 120 million in production this year. He's building his branch. He's got a really strong vision. He wants to build $1 billion branch. And that's what he's focusing on. You know, when I try to Brian, what else are you doing? He's like, I'm trying to do 120 million better as a team and less of my time. And I'm trying to recruit and build $1 billion branch. He's really clear on what he's doing as a producing manager. So Brian, anything you want to say to the crew before we kick this mastermind off?
No, man, I appreciate you guys having me. I'm excited as well. Go Dallas Mavs. And for those folks that are watching, man, the people that have high skills and work hard are going to be the ones to break through. And I think this community gives you the best chance.
All right. So guys, I'm going to be leading 2 sessions at the Mastermind Summit over the next few days. And one of them is going to include Brian, Dan, and Shayla Gifford. They're each going to deliver a 20-minute keynote that I'm going to open it and then I'm going to close it. So my opening and closing is going to be, 10 minutes or so each. I'm not going to do 10 minutes right now. I'm going to do about a 5-minute opening, but I want to practice what I'm going to do. And 2, I think it just frames the conversation. And for everybody that's not going to be at Mastermind, hopefully you'll get some cliff notes from today's call. So guys, I have been in an advice revolution my entire career. You know, like when I went from being a good loan officer, top producer, to really becoming one of the 50 top loan officers in the country, it was all about advice, this advice revolution. And here's my thesis. This seismic shift for agents, the NAR settlement, is a massive opportunity for loan officers. The way I see the shift, that's kind of like we're in the final stage of this shift. It started in 2007 when the iPhone came out, and the iPhone coming out was a new level of transparency and consumer empowerment. When you think about that, prior to 2007, if a consumer wanted to shop for a mortgage, they pretty much did it in the sports page. If a consumer wanted to find a home, they did it through a realtor. And the iPhone and the internet, you know, gave the power to the consumer. The consumer had just things we couldn't comprehend. We had obviously the combination of Zillow, the internet, and the mobile phone has turned home search into entertainment. But guys, we're in this messy middle right now. It's 2024. I started saying what I'm going to say next in 2018. These are actually slides from 2018. I said that, hey, what we're in right now, this digital shift era, it started in 2007. And I said this, you know, almost 9 years ago now, 2027, it'll be unrecognizable. And we are in this messy middle right now. And I do believe the decoupling of commissions and national media telling America, hey, you can negotiate first of all, a lot of people didn't know that. Some people did know that they can negotiate. Most people didn't know. And while this is going to have impact on buyer's agents massively, it's going to have massive impact on listing agents. And here's the deal. Every real estate agent in America is kind of reconsidering, who am I going to partner with? Like, they may have their go-to loan officer, but now they're looking at like, hey, I need a go-to loan officer, but I need someone that's going to help me optimize my commission and help me optimize, get a contract signed. So here's a couple key data points for everyone on this call. If you're in the mortgage game, you're playing the biggest game in history. Look at debt. Like, really take a look at this chart right here and see how much debt in America has gone up. We've never had more mortgage debt. We've never had more car loan debt. We've never had more credit card debt. We've never had more student loan debt. And now we actually have the highest amount of loans against 401k programs in history. Now, with that said, when you look at America's balance sheet, we've got a lot of debt, but you know what? We got a lot of equity too. And so the business of equity and debt management, you know, the mortgage advisor that can actually help America manage debt and equity, one, is going to win, and two, they're going to be most valuable to realtors. When you look at the wealth gap in America, it comes down to who owns and who rents. Renters, average net worth of $10,000. Owners, almost $400,000. And it is actually over 400. These numbers are from 2022, and real estate has done nothing but go up in the past 2 years. So if you're on this call, it's time to not just join the advice revolution, but really execute the advice revolution. So I invited 3 amazing professionals that are executing on the advice revolution. So guys, let's give a little hand for Brian. Let's use these reactions. I would do a standing ovation. I'm going to try to get a standing ovation for you, Dan and Brian, in Vegas. So be ready for that. I hope you guys pick some good walk-up music, because you're gonna be feeling like rock stars. So Brian, first of all, give your color on the advice revolution, and then share an example of how you're delivering this in the market today for both home buyers and for realtors.
Yeah, appreciate this. And so, you know, obviously I've been in the business for 19 years. Part of the way that I think strategies, I really kind of like try to get really skilled at art of anticipation, which is anticipating what the street needs, what clients need, what's in the future. And so I started that a long time ago when it was just, video and social. But Dave, you've done such an excellent job of this, of saying, like, fast forward 2-3 years down the road, what does it look like? How are people presenting? How are you showing value? How are you helping them understand highest and best use of money? So whether it be technology, whether it be AI, whether it be TCAs, you always have to forward think to be ahead of the curve as the pace setter, and you've done an excellent job. And so a couple of things I want to kind of go over and share. If you guys can see my screen, I'll pop it on here.
I'll tell you when I see it. We see
Got
it.
it?
Got it.
Okay. So I did two of these, and they're simple, but I want to articulate to everyone watching. It's like you have to find a way to get people to pay attention to wealth. The financial literacy around buying a home, renting, all these things, it's not very deep. And most people think, well, I just look at the monthly payment, right? What am I paying in rent versus what's it going to cost on a mortgage? And I just don't want to do that because I don't have the money for the down payment, or I don't want to do the repairs that are $2,500 a month. So you have to go deeper with all these people, whether it be clients, and say, hey, this is not a way to create wealth, right? You guys will hear me say a joke that say, like, renting is bad for your wealth. But you have to show them the layering of it, because most people stop at layer one, which is payment, affordability. And so they want to know. And if they don't know, it's your job to show them. So what I did here is I took, like, if somebody's paying $4,000 in rent, right? I went over and said, hey, on a $4,000 mortgage payment, 5% down, here are the basics. And this is kind of the price point that you would be looking at. But also what I try to focus on, and again, Dave, you did an excellent job on this, is these columns over here. So a lot of people will always say, if I pay $4,000 in rent, I can do a $4,000 payment in the mortgage. The downside of that is I want people to look at the net piece. So the net piece is, hey, part of getting a mortgage is you get tax deductions, right? There's good debt and bad debt, and you get money back on your money. With rent, it all goes out the window. You get a standard deduction. But from a mortgage standpoint, look, you actually end up saving more money. So when you get two exact gross payments, the net on each one is much different. So you have to start there and say, it's not about the check that you cut. It is, what is the check that you're cutting going into, and what's the ROI on that check? And obviously you can see here, a check for rent, nada. A check for mortgage, there's a lot, but the tax benefit just starting from square one is 3x. So I think that's the first thing you tell people is, hey, a $4,000 rent payment, a $4,000 home loan payment, why it may be the same at the moment you're writing the check, it's not at the end of the year. Here's why. And obviously it's not going to help you compound your money and create wealth over time. Okay, so that's part one, which is get people thinking strategic, not just zeros. What is it going towards? Their tax deductions. What does the net end up being? So that's a simple part one. Part two is, look, if you keep this thing for 5 years, right? Basically you're at $4,000 a month, 12 months, 48 grand, 5 years, it's 240. This is assuming obviously your rent goes up by 5% a year. Dude, you're going to be cutting $265,000 in checks. It's going to nothing. Versus here, you obviously are putting it to a mortgage, and over those 5 years, you've paid 25 grand down on the balance piece. So that's really, really important to say, this is out the window. This goes to something. And then this bottom column is really like the completer. I'm just saying, like, hey, this is really where you want to make them pay attention to say, look, 5 years from now, you have to live somewhere. What happens is you're going to be cutting checks, and you're either going to be paying a mortgage on your own or somebody else's. But here's the bigger component. If you started with 100K, which is what I did, and said, hey, you make 6% every single year on your money, this is what your net worth would actually be. And I think this is a big shocking factor for people, which is like, yeah, I can grow a little bit of my money here and there, but where you end up making a ton of money is over here. And it's like, look, if your house appreciates at, I think the factors on these are, look, 4%, okay? If your house appreciates at 4% over the next 10 years, look how much money you have made just on the equity growth, not including the money that obviously you would have from your assets and the money you would pay down from the balance. So this is where you start to show people, like, it's not just about payment to payment. There are so many other variables that contribute to a person's overall financial position, and really the net wealth and the compounding of the money is a crucial piece that not only you got to explain to borrowers, but also like getting this into agents and saying, like, hey, stop saying, if you have a $4,000 rent, this is how much on the house. Yes, but show them everything under the hood. I think everything under the hood is crucial because people don't see this. They don't know, they don't understand it. And that they're able to put this at a high level and understand this is the way you make money. I think it would give not only the consumers and the agents a different perspective on why buying a house is always a good investment.
So awesome job. I want everybody, if you didn't write down, get borrowers to think strategic. Like that was his number, you know, that was where he started, is getting him to think strategic. Dan, any takeaways or questions you have for Brian?
I love it. I absolutely love it. You got to focus on the mission. You got to focus on the end product, and that's wealth creation. I think so many people get caught up on the numbers. They get caught up on the payment, of course, right now. And so I know Brian's in a high tech, a pretty sophisticated area, I think in Texas, much like me up in Seattle. And so you got to do more than just share a rate sheet or you're going to get slaughtered.
Sean, questions or comments?
No, that's basically like a very similar approach that I take. The one thing I do different is on the rent versus principal paid in 60 months. I'll do that as tax benefit analysis over 36. And then what it does is it shows people how quickly their money works for them, where rent doesn't, right? So like Brian said, we look at rent and that's our benchmark. And I'll ask people, like, my rent's $4,000. I need my payment to be $4,000. I go, why? I don't know, just 'cause that's what my rent payment is. It's like, well, let's dive deeper into it, right? And so asking people why it puts them in a place to go, never thought about that. And you know what? No other lender ever asked me. They just gave me what I said I wanted. They were order takers. I like this Brian guy better. He's like pushing me to think more and grow.
So by the way, guys, when I founded Mortgage Coach, it was called Wow Tools, because that's what I wanted people to go like, wow, no one told this to me before. So Brian, if you can stop sharing your screen, Dan, get ready. Before I bring Dan on, I'm going to play a 40-second clip from last Tuesday's interview with James Allen. And this is where he said, I love it when customers repeat back my own language. So listen to this. James is on track to close 300 loans this year. He's killing it. Highly recommend watching the interview. I'll put a link down below, but watch this clip real quick.
I'll love it when I go to a buyer consult. A few of my partners will say things like, hey, you might think the best option is the one that's the lowest interest rate. One of the things that James will help you understand is that the loan option that creates the highest net worth over the time you have it is always going to be the higher option. The reason that's so meaningful is that so many of the realtors out there who don't yet understand that concept because no one's taught it to them are going to look at a loan estimate from XYZ lender with 3 points on it at 599 and miss out on the fact that this person's going to lose $15,000 by buying that rate instead of taking 699 with their partner, you know, because they intend to refinance in a short time frame.
So guys, did you connect the dots on that? His realtor is setting him up as an advisor that creates net worth. Is he going to win in his market? How many loan officers in his market are selling net worth, not just selling loans? So when I come back to you, Brian, for your next round, I want to hear not only a strategy, but I want to hear, what are your realtors? How are they positioning you? How are you using the fact that you're doing this as a value prop? So be ready for that. And Mr. Dan Keller, you're up, bro.
Yeah, I look at it this way and I explain it this way to every single client when I get to sit down with them, either via Zoom or face-to-face. And say, imagine this, you go to a physician and you do your annual checkup, and your physician has everything. They have your health history questionnaire. They've asked you questions. They have your charts from previous medical history. They're going to take your blood pressure. They're going to take your vitals. They're going to look in your eyes, ears, your nose, and stuff like that. But what if the physician, while they were doing all of this, maybe noticed that you're out in the sun a lot and just failed to say, hey, I'd like you to take your shirt off. I'd like to look at your shoulders and your back and just look for some abnormalities and moles or whatever. Let's say they didn't do that. And 6 months later, a year later, you come back and you've got an issue, a severe health issue, whether it be cancer or whatever it might be. And that physician could have prevented it by doing a little bit more due diligence with the information that they had. The way that I look at a mortgage, I look at a mortgage the same exact way. If you have $1 million and you go and give that $1 million to a financial planner or an investment banker to go invest that money, we as mortgage professionals have more financial information on you than that person investing $1 million. And so the way that I look at my job is I look at my job as a financial leader. I look at my job to bring about financial awareness. And I look at my job as though the mortgage is a hub of the largest financial decision that can make the biggest impact in your financial lives, period. 10 years ago, financial planners did not talk about residential real estate as a part of your financial portfolio. Today, they're talking about it. And so how we structure your mortgage is important. The mortgage that you take out is important, and how that mortgage is managed over time is important. So I always start out, if it's a first-time home buyer, I always start out just like Brian and just like Sean did, with a rent versus own comparison. But I don't focus on just, hey, you're paying X number of dollars a month in rent. I focus on the bigger picture. Now, I've found over time, you guys, that zooming out 10, 15, 20 years is just not real reasonable. I think people can really grasp onto a 5-year outlook. I can as well. And so I tend to I click on the button for the long term. I click 5 years. I put 5 years in there. And then the report that I make is simply, I focus on net worth, what your net worth will look like in 5 years. Now, since Brian just did that and he did a stand-up job on that, that's exactly how I do it. Sean's going to probably share something very similar, a little bit more. I know Sean spends a lot of time with the tax advantage, which is awesome. I'm going to share two real life scenarios that literally just happened in the last week. Number one, I teach first-time homebuyer classes. We had 3 last month. We had 67 people attend. Between all 3 classes, we had 67 people. We had over 80 RSVPs. So it's a great way for me to go consumer direct. And I'm up here in the Seattle market. One of the clients, what we do is you come to our class and then you can scan a QR code for a free strategy session with me and the realtor. And it's via Zoom, and you get 30 minutes and we get to go over. I use MortgageCoach on all of them. I ask them what they're paying in rent. I ask them what their desired monthly payment is. And I ask them how much money they have to put down on a home when the time is right. And the last question, 4 simple questions, what's your timeline? Because then I can give them some advice around their timeline. I put together a TCA, a rent versus own, right there on the spot for them. We go over that in the meeting. So I had a client, I had a strategy session with the gal, Melinda. I'm going to share the screen here in a second. And Melinda was like very smart. She's Amazon, makes really good money. And she's like, listen, I've been renting for the past 4 years. I make a couple $100,000 a year. I've got a lot of money in the stock market now in Amazon stock. And I feel like I paid $2,200 a month or $2,500 a month in rent. I should just keep investing my money. I'm doing just fine. And I was like, yes, you are. That is incredible. Great job. That's a great rent in Seattle. But Melinda, can I show you something? And what I did with Melinda is I showed her this report. Let me make sure this is the one that I've got 2 that I'm going to share with you. Nope, this is Billy and Kat. This is the next one.
Just do one in this round. So we're kind of like lightning round. You got 5 minutes each, and you're 3 minutes in.
We're going to do this. Here we go. In 1 minute or less, Melinda, her argument was that she was going to keep paying rent, $2,500 a month. So I said, here's the current situation. Let's keep paying rent, $2,500 a month, and you keep investing your money. You're doing a great job. Or you could buy a $750,000 home with 5% down and double your monthly housing expense. Or you could do $750,000 you could purchase a $750,000 home and invest $2,000 a month. So I did a comparison what she's currently investing right now, and I shared this 5-year net worth report with her. And option 3, buy and keep investing, increased her net worth by $530,000 over 5 years, compared to $284,000 by renting and investing. And when she saw that, see, I learned this a long time ago from Kristen Meserly. If you could teach a millennial something they can't find on Google, you'll get their respect, you'll get their attention. And that's exactly what happened. She's applied and she's out looking at homes now. So one of the ways that I use MortgageCoach, it's different with every person, but bringing about financial awareness is so important, and it helps us do our job so much better.
I want you to do something real quick, Dan, while I'm talking here, and I'm going to play a clip, but I want you to change that to 40 years. I saw a social media post recently where the guy said, hey, if you invest X per month in the S&P, look what your net worth will be in 40 years. And by the way, it was a lot of money. It was pretty high net worth for someone that's disciplined enough to do that. But here's the thing, doing both, getting into real estate and investing is going to outperform. So we'll see that in a minute. While Dan's pulling that up, I'm going to play a clip with one of Dan's colleagues. Shay Jenkins is with the same company as Dan, New American Financial, and she's in Denver, And this is because I want to really pivot into like, what is the value to the realtor? How do we get realtors to start making net worth part of their value prop? So this is what realtors think when you give a report like this to clients.
I was going after this huge, one of the top agents in Denver. And I had been trying since I was an assistant, I had been trying to get this person. And finally the poor girl gave me a break and was like, Lord, like, here you go, take this one lead. And I took the lead and I did a mortgage coach. And I was just like, you know what, why not? I'm going to CC the agent on here. And then that's when the agent picked up the call and she's like, are you serious? This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, what, mortgage coach? And I was like, you're the top agent. You've never seen this before? And she's like, absolutely not. She's like, this is amazing. She's like, would you be able to do this with all my buyers? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, that's so cool. And again, in her head, I think she was thinking, I'm up all night creating this massive presentation with all these numbers and graphs. And I got her business and she's one of my top agents now.
So guys, you need to, if you want to crush it in this market, create advice like this, do what Dan said, have strategy sessions where you actually get people to think differently, like Brian, zoom out 3 to 5 years when you show the advice. And then I love Dan's opening. Can I show you something? So Dan, will you just show us really quick what the net worth's going to be in 40 years? Guys, that is multi-generational wealth. Like, now I am not recommending you show every borrower a 40-year planning horizon. But this particular person who was a disciplined investor, was smart with money, might have been worth saying, hey, here's 3 years, here's 10 years, and here's 40 years. Pick your story, brother A, brother B. Do both. So Dan, you killed it. Sean, any questions or comments for Dan before you're up?
No, I love that. I think I like the 40-year too. I know I don't normally take things out that far, but there's definitely a wow factor to be found right there.
Brian, questions, comments for Dan?
I think Dan does great, especially for first-time home buyers. You have to frame it and put it in a way they'll understand it and make it fun and simple and a map that they can follow. It's good.
You're up, Sean. Show us what you're doing and how you're delivering on this value prop for buyers and or realtors.
So for the first session, I'm just going to expand on what Brian showed and show the way that I use Mortgage Coach is the psychological tool. I have to speak to what people are thinking about, even though they may not have asked the question, right? So going back to rent, we're comparing buying a home to our current rent payment. We don't know why we do that. It's a known. I know that I can afford this $4,000 payment. So this isn't the exact same presentation Brian just showed, but this is similar. This is one I just had a couple months ago. So property was listed for $500,000. The rent payment on it was about $4,000. And I saw an ad on Instagram from a realtor that said for lease. I said, I wonder what this would look like if you bought a similar home. And I went on Redfin and searched and found a similar home and I modeled it out. So a lot of what I do with Mortgage Coach is answer my own questions of, I wonder if this will work. And then I play with it for 10 to 15 minutes and figure that out. So rent to $4,000 with $50,000 a month in renter's insurance. This is my favorite screen. I don't have to do much here because Brian already did the work, but I'll do a tax benefit analysis over 36 months because I can show them the benefits, right? So if you rent for 3 years, you'll have paid $150,000 in rent. Nobody thinks of their rent that way. They think of their rent as a monthly payment and they never look ahead. When you show them $150,000 of rent in the next 3 years, that's a wow factor for them. And yes, if you bought a home, it's $185,000, but you paid off $55,000 of your balance and you had a tax benefit in the state of California, state only, of about $9,200 in a 10% tax bracket, state tax bracket. So when you look at the net cost, your rent was $150,000, and if you bought, you were at $120,000. You have a net benefit of $30,000 just in savings there. But your real estate value in this market is going to go up about 6%. That puts your value at $595,000. You've paid down your loan balance to $419,000. In just 3 years, you'll have a net worth of $176,000 compared to renting, you'll have zero. People don't look at this and go, oh my gosh, I'm so excited for how much money I'm going to have in net worth in the next 3 years. They go, why am I finding this out now? Like, I wish I had known. I didn't know I wasted $150,000 in rent over the last 3 years. human nature will always look at the negative, right? You could, when you were a kid, you could do 9 things right. You had 10 chores, you did 9 of them, but your parents came down on you the one you didn't do. So since human nature focuses on the negative in hindsight, I like to show people this knowing that that's how they're going to view it. They don't see the future, they see the past, and that gets them more excited for the future.
Well, you got a lot of hearts, a lot of feedback from folks on that. So great job. He's opening minds. He's creating wow. Dan, any comments or thoughts on what you just saw from Sean?
Yeah, what I love about and I'm going to adopt this. I keep saying that every time I listen to you, Sean, that I'm going to adopt this. What I love about the tax strategy and the explaining tax benefits to especially first-time homebuyers, they don't have a clue. Most of them are like, they do it on, online or whatever, and they don't really consider the impact of the IRS and tax savings and tax shelters. So to be able to have that conversation, you've just elevated yourself. No other mortgage guy or gal is having that conversation. So killer job, man.
Thank you.
Brian, any comments or thoughts before you're up for round 2?
I like how he goes into what people will pay attention to, and then sometimes show them the negative in a good way, so they'll unlearn what they're currently thinking.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
So everyone in the audience, use the reaction. Let me know what you think of today's call so far. Any questions that you have, put them in chat. And Brian, let's do another story, another strategy.
Yep.
As we do this next round, guys, I want to make sure that we're getting leadership to realtors. This NAR settlement is happening. Realtors need a mortgage coach, not a loan officer. And I want to hear how you're, a story and a strategy and how you're positioning that with agents.
Yeah. So everybody that's watching this, agents and bars, there are 2 ways that I connect with people to kind of get them to understand. So the first piece is I explain to them, your life is a game show. Okay. The game show is called What's the Highest and Best Use of My Money? As human beings, we want to figure out what's the path. How can I get there? Right? Should I put more money down on the house? Should I rent? Should I pay off my car? Should I invest money in the S&P? Right? What's the highest and best use of the money? And so what I say is there's two things on that. One, you need a formula. Here's the secret. I have the formula and I'm going to show you how to create wealth. Part 1. 2, I lean in and give them my story, which is, hey, let me tell you what I've done over the past 5 to 10 years, paying off debt, saving money, 10% down, not 20% down, good debt and bad debt. And I go through things that I've done with my wife and my life here and there and shown them and tell them like, hey, I bought my house back in 17 for 800 grand. It's worth 1.8 today. If you would have kept renting for 10 years and go side by side. So creating a game show, when they think about it as buying a house, I say, it's a game show, highest and best use of the money. How do we get to the jackpot the fastest? And I explain to them, there are ways to move your money around, different ways to think, good, bad, everything in between. But I'm going to show you that game board on how to get there. And then I go secondhand into, this is what I've done so far. This has been what's successful for me. And I think people relate to that a lot better of, okay, what's my game show? How do I get to the end? What would be the final prize? But if you're, flying blind, you might not know. But you want somebody that'll help you get there quick and also tell you about their own personal story. And I think people understand that and they're more willing to give in and structure and lean on LOs that are like, man, you're not even talking about rate. You're talking about this and all these things. But if they're not aware, they can't bring it to the front line. So I try to bring it to the front lines with a fun game show style with also, just so you know, this is what I do for myself and my family, and here's why. And I think people appreciate that. The TCA piece, this one's slightly different. It's close, but what I always do for folks when they're certain, shopping in a certain price point, stuff here and there, I like to do a low, medium, and high. Hey, if you want to keep your payment around here, you can do here, you can do here, you can do here. Here are the kind of the low, medium, high strategies, very similar to the past, but it shows them, hey, if you're buying low, medium, and high, and you want to keep things around here, here's what the payments would end up being on all the different cycles. Second one, same thing, rent versus principal. It's just like you show them that this is such a waste of money over a long period of time. That is the pain point of like, oh my gosh, I've been paying this much money to my landlord the entire time. I've been paying their note down. They get all the tax deductions. Their house has been going up year over year. And I tell everybody, like, your landlord loves you. I make a joke on social when I say, if you are really committed to renting for the next five years, please tell me where, please tell me the amount. I will buy a house and stick you in it. and let you pay my note down and contribute to my retirement as a fun piece. But when you can see on here that all this money is wasted and there is no compounding or wealth creation from it, it starts to tell people how to move their money around. This becomes a game show over a long period of time. And whatever examples you have from your personal life, weave those in as well.
Love, love, love it. Dan, any questions, comments, anything you want to call out that you just saw?
No, it's just, I think you said it, Brian. It just, when you're sharing stuff like this, it takes the focus off of the only thing that we have in common with the borrower is rate. We're just a mortgage guy. We're just a mortgage gal, right? And so they're coming to us for rate and fees. It takes the focus off of that. And Brian's such a great educator. So killer job, man.
John, anything you want to call out or ask?
Yeah, I love the that he makes it relatable. He uses personal stories. I do the same thing. One, it builds trust. You shouldn't do it just to build trust. You should do it because we've all done enough of this to know that most people have the same thoughts and concerns. I don't want to overpay. I don't want to be multiple offers. When I bought my house in 2021, I had to fight 20 people for it. I had to pay $250,000 over the asking price. And I am forever grateful that I went out of my comfort zone and bought that house. It puts them at ease, right? I'm not saying that I'm making up a story to put him at ease. It's just like, okay, this guy gets me, right? So there's a lot of value in that for people that helps to build trust. So I love that he does that.
Brian, any leadership on how when you meet, whether it's a new real estate agent, how do they present you, and how do you present this as a value prop to real estate agents?
Most real estate agents, they don't have anybody like our community that overwhelms them. It's like good. It's like communicate well, close on time, don't screw up. And I'm like, that's it. The bar is so low. So I explained to them, hey, I've been doing this for 19 years. We're going to close the loan smooth and on time, but I'm going to obviously not only help you grow and open more doors for you to create more opportunities, but also help you understand that if you don't feel like your career will get better and make more money with me, and your clients won't have a better experience opportunity to get a house through me, it's a problem. I'm going to prove that to you by X, Y, Z. And one of those I always go through, have you ever looked at a total cost analysis? And they say no. And I say, cool, I'm going to send you a dummy one and we're going to walk through it together just so you know it. But I said, I present these on every single one to every single client because it makes them feel different, understand money a different way, but also it makes you look awesome. So we get off the phone, they're like, I know where they use Sean. I know where they use Dan. And if they're competing against somebody else, it's not apples to apples. So it's part of my presentation, which is create more opportunity, open more doors via A, B, and C. And this is part of what I present to them as a dummy run. And then I say, we're going to do this on every single client.
Beautiful. And notice how it was all framed on, I'm going to help you be more successful, and I'm going to bring more value to your consumer. And then I'm going to visually show you how I do that. And guys, that's going to matter more than ever. Post the NAR shift. And right now the battle is going on. So it's just a tremendous opportunity. Mr. Keller.
Yep.
Another story, another strategy, bro.
Hey, I've got a real time. This happened over the weekend. This one's really good, but I want to frame this to add a little perspective. 3 weeks ago, I gave an office presentation in a Sotheby's real estate office up here in the Northwest. And it was titled High Dollar Conversations. And it was around the NAR settlement. And I went in, I had about 15 minutes max at their sales meeting. And I said, I talked about your conversation, and your words matter more than ever right now with your clients. And it's not necessarily what you say when you get backed into a corner. It's how to prevent yourself from getting backed into a corner. So how are you articulating these new NAR changes? How are you articulating your value proposition compared to your competition? And I gave a couple of real life examples. I used MortgageCoach in front of everyone. It was up on the screen. And in fact, I think I took a picture of it and put it on Instagram, Dave, and tagged you. And one of the slides I had up there was, I had 2 slides. Number one, you can't out earn appreciation. So I said, one of the things I'm talking with all of my first time home buyers on and clients is that you cannot out earn appreciation. Let me prove it to you. Okay. You ask your clients this, you go into your boss on Monday and you say, I think I'm worth more. I'd like a $50,000 a year raise. What do you think your boss is going to say? This is how I open up first time homebuyer classes too, you guys. And 99% of the time they start laughing. They're like, it'd be a joke. It'd be like, get out of my office. We're going to call HR on you. And so I said, that's funny, because if you were to purchase a $650,000 home up here in Seattle right now with just the standard appreciation, that home over the next 5 years, and I use a slide to share that, and I'll pull it up here in a second, shows that you'll make approximately $350,000, $360,000 in appreciation over 5 years. Divide that down to the month, to the year, and it gives you about a $75,000 a year raise. You have to look at it this way, because it's real money, you guys. And so I use that dialogue in a real estate office presentation. I also said that financial awareness is more important than ever. And I shared budgetwithdan.com. It's a simple landing page that I made. There's a 15-question wealth awareness test. I personally take it twice a year. The goal is to turn a no into a yes, one no into a yes every 6 months. And I pulled that up for everyone. And I said, you guys, when you work with me, my mission is your people's money, your clients' money. My mission as a mortgage guy to all you realtors in the room right now is your money. I want to help you make more money. My job is to help you make more money. Just like Brian just said, if our relationship doesn't help you make more money and make your job easier and save you time, fire me. You should be working with a mortgage professional that does, but I promise you it will. And so I left that meeting. A real estate agent reached out to me. She was like, wow, I'm not getting this from my lender. I'd love to meet with you. Met with her last week. She calls me on Friday night. She says, hey, I got a client. I don't think they're going to need you, but I'd like you to talk with them. I just sold their house. They netted $1.3 million. I'm showing them a $1.2 million home over the weekend. They're probably just going to pay cash for it. Okay. I said, Morgan, do me a favor, make the introduction. Let me talk to them. So what I did is I showed them options. I had the initial phone call with them and I showed them an option. So I used MortgageCoach twice, you guys. 1.2 million with a $500,000 loan amount, 1.2 million with a $600,000 loan amount, 1.2 million with a $700,000 loan amount. And then what I did from there, and I just showed them some options, and they're like, we really were kind of counting on not having a mortgage payment and just paying property taxes and being good there. And I said, okay, so we got to talking about their age and their goals, and they're in their 50s. And I said, so the next 20 years is crucial, right, in regards to retirement. She's a nurse and he owns his own business, makes about $75,000 a year. So not a ton as an entrepreneur. And I said, so every dollar matters, right? And they said, yeah. And I said, can I show you guys something? I said, I'm in your position. My wife and I, a year ago, had a decision to make. We had the home that we never planned on selling, right on the water, but a home that was much more expensive, about 8 doors down. I knew it was going to come for sale, and we had an opportunity to buy it off market. And I had an opportunity to put a lot of money down. And I talked with my financial planner. I talked with my mentor, and my mentor said, Dan, put 20% down. I'm like, holy crap, that's a huge mortgage payment with high interest rates. He was like, put 20% down, stay the course. And I did. And because of that, I made over $500,000 last year in the stock market with the money that I did not put down on that home. And I got their attention. I said, what I'd love to do right now is I'd love to show you this. So this is MortgageCoach number 2, 1.2 million, $500,000 loan amount, or you pay cash for the home. Again, let's swing down over here. Here's your monthly payment. Here's your monthly payment right here. Here's what you would be investing in the stock market. Net worth over 10 years because he's in his 50s. You're going to have a 3.4, almost a $3.5 million net worth compared to a $2.6 million net worth. So you're going to add, by taking out a mortgage, having a mortgage, and investing some money, you're going to add almost $1 million to your total net worth over the next 10 years. Guys, they're mutual right now. We got mutual yesterday, 500 fully underwritten, approved. They're actually going with a $600,000 loan amount, and advice matters more than ever. Now, the realtor already has introduced me to 2 other agents. She's on cloud 9, and she was like, I just can't believe this. This was unreal. This is why I wanted them to talk to you. So number 1, kudos to MortgageCoach. I used it at 2 different levels because I needed to. But guys, I did this all over the weekend, and it probably took me less than 30 minutes making these, explaining these to these people, and this helped earn their trust and got me a new deal.
So, and yes, everyone, these TCAs will be down below. So if you're watching this on YouTube, all the links will be down below. And I love that phrase, you can't out earn appreciation. And then to show a real world example, we're definitely going to scale that in the First Home IQ community, Dan. So I'm stoked that you're a First Home IQ ambassador. And Sean, remember that project we're working on to, how to teach real estate appreciation to college kids? Like that's what a great way to do that.
And I'll share this slide with you guys too, Dave.
Yeah. So
these
these slides will all be shared. And anyways, it's incredible. So Sean, wrap us up with another story and strategy, and then I'll do some closing thoughts.
I want to just touch on Dan's because I had a story I'll never forget. I'm not going to show you Mortgage Coach for it because it's too simple, but I had a 28-year-old tech millionaire, sold his company for 11 figures, wants to buy his first home for 3 million. His financial advisor told him to call me. And I was in the car just having a conversation. I was like, all right, so he's like, well, I'm going to pay cash. I just sold my company, but what would you do? And I go, well, I don't know. Let's look at it this way. If you pay 3 million, you pay cash and home value goes up 10% in a year, which at that time it was, you'd make a 10% return on your initial investment, right? You put 3 million down. If you do 20% down, that's $600,000. Home value would increase the same. What's the return on your initial investment? 600,000 invested, 300,000 return. That's a 50% return. And you have 2.4 million with your financial advisor still earning you money, right? That is how you make money multitask. And that's what I always tell people is make money multitask. That's how you build wealth. You use leverage to build wealth. And that's really why I loved that we were doing this call. I don't know. I have 2 different ideas. So I have one that I had a first time buyer, real life scenario that said, I want a 15-year fix. And I'm not a fan of 15-year fix. I could show you what I did with that, or I could show you the realtor value one. Which way should I go, Dave?
Let's not do the 15-year just because I don't think that's the typical one. And I'd really love to close out with a realtor one. Okay. And I hope everybody wrote that down, make your money multitask. Another powerful phrase for the mortgage advisor that helps people build wealth with real estate.
Yeah. So you guys have seen this one, but I'm going to reiterate it because I had a meeting. I drove 3 hours for real estate office meeting or realtor agent meeting yesterday, and she's going to take over a market. Her goal is to do 3 transactions a month. She currently sells in like the 450-ish range. That's where her listings are. She doesn't love buyers at that range because it's too competitive. And then she loves getting buyers at the 600-700 range because those properties sit longer in that market and it's easier to get people into contract. And I told her, you're just going to win all of those from now on. Like we win in multiple offers all the time, no matter what. But realtors, the realtor concern is obviously, I have to explain my value now. I'm not going to say we beat it to death, but we've talked about it and it's becoming more and more real. And I'm seeing agents start to pay more attention to it. So what you have to do is show how compensation can be financed. And the truth of the matter, it was always built in the price. And I think moving forward always will be. I had my first broker tour last Friday where the buyer said, the seller said, we're not going to offer compensation and we're going to list the home 50,000 higher than we initially said we were. Not one person came to that broker tour and nobody came over the weekend. And the agent Monday said, Sean, we're reducing the price by 50,000 and we're going to offer compensation to the buyer's agent. That's an $80,000 swing in 72 hours, right? So it's going to be that way. And I think what we might have messed up on is we have been so focused on the buyer presentation that we didn't think about how the listing presentation was going to have to change as well. So that being said, this is one you guys have seen, but using an initial offer price of $1 million, assuming there was no compensation.
And Sean, everybody hasn't seen it. Trust me. They didn't all see that last interview. So.
Oh, but it's sharing right now, right?
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got it. All right.
Yeah.
So everything I'm showing you guys, I've shown you before, but maybe there's new people here. So if somebody decided they wanted to offer $1 million on a home that was not going to have buyer agent compensation, their cash out of pocket would be $234,000. I built in 2.5% commission for the buyer agent. So this buyer is making an offer. That means they've already signed their agreement, right? So they would have to come out of pocket $234,000. But if you finance the commission instead, come up to a price of $1,027,000, that's going to net the seller the same as they would have at $1 million. Sellers don't care what their sales price is. Realtors do. Sellers don't care. They care about their net proceeds, right? That's the only reason I want a higher price is because I'm going to net more after I pay everybody. So at $1,027,000, the seller's the same, right? They're square. You're going to come out of pocket $214,000. So you just saved $20,000 immediately in pocket. And while we're at it, now that we can ask to negotiate in multiple offer situations because of the way this is set up, why don't we just ask to have all of your closing costs paid? Now you're saving, what is that, $27,000 out of pocket. What do we do with that money, right? So you financed it. Yes, the monthly payment is higher, You're going to pay $239 more per month if you pay $1,038,000 versus $1 million. But guess what? If the seller was offering compensation, you would have been here anyways. Their list price probably would have been $1,025,000 because they're only thinking of their net proceeds. So now that I've saved you $24,000 in pocket, what do we do with that money? Your net worth in 7 years by buying this piece of real estate is going to be at a rate of 5%, is going to go up to, what was it? So you're going to have $705,000 in value. And then by investing the money you saved in pocket, that cash at 7%, you're turning that 24 into 55. I just showed you, a buyer, how paying this realtor is going to make them more money. Every realtor needs us. This isn't their job. It's our job. And this is the fun part. I mean, this is a lot more work for us. My mortgage coach presentations for this, it's an extra 10 to 15 minutes of like brain study. But how much more valuable am I to my real estate partners now? And when I presented this yesterday, along with a bunch of other ideas, like, she's stoked. This real estate agent, 3 hours, I'm not the local lender. I'm going to change their market with the things and the way that I work, bringing the way the Bay Area intensity works to her market. It's going to be a complete shift, and she's going to make more money and help more people, which is what is far more important to me. She's going to help more people become homeowners because I know how to show this to her clients and get them excited about it. And I've already had probably 5 or 6 clients now say, hey, what's this agreement I have to sign? Like, why am I signing this with this realtor? Oh, let me show you. Does this make sense? Yep, that makes all the sense in the world. Let's go. Zero nerves, zero apprehension. Okay, this is just the way it's always been done with a little bit more disclosure. I love it.
All right, guys. So I'm going to go into some closing thoughts and then give you guys each a chance for closing thoughts. So if you are on this call and you want to crush it like this year, right now, this month with Realtors, you want to create a competitive differentiation that will last a decade, maybe even last 2 decades. This is what you need to do. This is how you need to think, because the new generation coming in is smarter about money than ever before. Consumers, because of the NAR settlement, are more empowered than ever to make their own decisions. And so here's the deal. The NAR settlement is here. Every realtor is considering their options. You got to turn realtors into real estate advisors. And that's a quote from Sean Herrero in my first interview. And you guys need to start, like, this is your message. Hey, realtors, stop just selling homes. Start selling homes and help your clients create wealth with real estate. You know, help them every time they run a credit report, every time they get into debt. Work with a mortgage professional that's going to give them advice and going to show them this, whether it's a move-up buyer or first-time home buyer. Advice revolution. You know, start preaching in your local communities that the wealth gap in America isn't color, it's who owns and who rents. And I can help people get into homeownership earlier. I can show house hacking strategies. I can help families make better decisions. You know, become a first responder in the financial literacy crisis, and you will win today, and you will just keep winning bigger and bigger and bigger for this entire decade. Every 16-year-old in America needs to understand savings, investing, and budgeting. Like they should have Acorn, you know, like round it up, auto save money, invest it. Every 16-year-old, old enough to drive, old enough to understand these things. Every 18-year-old, old enough to vote, old enough to get into student debt, old enough to get your first credit card. They should understand how credit score is going to impact the rest of their lives. Every 21-year-old, old enough to drink, should really understand how real estate appreciation works. And that concept that Dan said, you can't out-earn real estate appreciation. They should know it. They should understand how to make their money multitask. And so, you know, a couple of things. One, you've got to be a mortgage coach to deliver on these promises. I highly encourage you to become a First Home IQ ambassador. This is a nonprofit where, you know, we're turning loan officers into the financial literacy warriors out there in local communities. And by the way, that's the other thing. By giving this education, like, this is what MortgageCoach does. If you don't already have access and you haven't taken the First Home IQ quiz, I put it in chat. So take the quiz, just click on that link. It's free. It will take you less than 5 minutes. It's also in the video notes. Here's the thing, guys. Every single total cost analysis you do, it teaches real estate appreciation with mortgage debt. It teaches the power of compound interest. If you wanted to show people, hey, what if you took $100 or $200 and prepaid your mortgage? It teaches the power of debt prepayment. So be a mortgage coach. Like, should you be giving consumers this? What are you teaching them? Should you be giving consumers a fee worksheet? How are you helping realtors deliver on that value prop of creating wealth with real estate? So again, just a big push to every loan officer on here. Start delivering advice with price. If you're a producing manager on this call, start delivering price with advice here at Trust Engine. You've seen the Mortgage Coach. We've showcased that in detail. We also have an app that's identifying all the most valuable opportunities in your database and putting it in the palm of your hand. So, hey, this is out of 1,000 people in your database. At all times, there's about 100, about 1% of them that are thinking about buying or selling. So make sure you know about the Trust Engine app. Make sure your C-suite knows about it. Make sure if you want to learn more about everything, if you're not already a member of Savage Insights, sign up for the mobile club, 949-799-0837. Every time I'm doing these calls, I'm texting this group, what's the next interview that we're doing? So check that out. So guys, we've got 3 minutes. You've knocked it out of the park. Most people are still on this call, a minute or less, rapid fire closing thoughts. Sean, you go first. Any closing thoughts?
I always say the same thing. Just go do something with this. Like, that was a great call. I can check that I worked today. Go do something with this information. That's all I can ask of anyone here is go make a difference in people's lives with what you learned.
Boom. Dan.
Yeah, you can use this because I use this with every single client. Guys, I've been in the mortgage industry for going on 17 years now. I've talked to extremely wealthy people. I've talked to first-time home buyers that want to buy a home 2 or 3 years from now. I can tell you that people want 3 things out of their financial lives at the end of their journey. They want to be debt-free, they want to own their home free and clear, and they want to retire well off. I've never met someone in their 80s that's like, cool, I'm happy right now at the end of my life being poor, right? So because I know what you want and I have the tools and the ammunition to get you there, I've got some incredible stuff I want to share with you, and it's going to help you achieve all 3 of those goals. And so I think, guys, when you position yourself like that, all of this software that we get through Mortgage Coach starts to make sense with people. And it's more than a mortgage, you guys. It's bigger than a mortgage. So like Sean said, take this and use it.
Brian, closing thoughts.
Yeah, man. It's an incredible tool. There's 50,000 different presentations you can do. You've got to learn it. For people that are out there, don't sit back and think, it's not for me. I promise you respectfully, you're going to die on the vine, man. And we're lucky enough to have Dave to help us with this. But if you like it and you want to do it, I would say go a step further. Do YouTube videos. Send them to your clients. Let it compound your time. When a realtor asks, send them a link to that. Let your loan partners learn it this way. So use not only this tool, but find other ways to shoot videos and educational things around this and put that out to the public as well so it can compound your brand in time.
All right, guys. So we'll put a link to our 10X page, trustengine.com/10X. There's a place to sign up. If you're not a mortgage coach, get signed up. And there's training, NAR settlement strategies, Dan Keller, Jeremy, Sean. If you want to learn how to win with realtors, the best videos there. You want to learn how to win with rate shoppers. There's Brian. Check it out. If you need training for the person that says, hey, do you put rates and fees? Guys, we have videos on that. We also have live training every single day of the week. So if you're new, sign up for the Mondays training. If you're experienced and you just want to learn strategies, sign up for Wednesday or Thursday. So guys, appreciate you so much. Thank you everyone who tuned in. This is a wrap. Take care, everybody.
You guys.
See ya.